Dawn opens over a sleeping neighborhood. Maria walks slowly along the dirt road, carrying a borrowed suitcase and a bag that holds her entire life. The air smells of fresh bread and farewell. Behind the gate, her mother watches without tears, because there are none left to cry. She only raises a trembling hand while her daughter promises something neither of them truly believes. "I will be back soon, Mama. And this time we will never go hungry again." The taxi moves through humble houses, faded murals, and stray dogs running alongside. Maria presses her lips together to keep from crying. Hidden in her chest is a scrap of paper with an address written by hand, the name of the woman who found her work in the United States. Good people, they told her. A decent family. At the airport, everything feels larger than she imagined. People speak another language and she only nods, repeating with clumsy effort the words she memorized from an internet video. When the plane takes off, she feels the ground slip away along with everything she once was. Through the window, she watches her country shrink until it looks like a postcard. She thinks of the house where she lived, the bed shared with her sick mother, the faded photograph of her father hanging on the wall. Each memory is a thread that snaps as the plane rises. She closes her eyes. She wants to sleep but cannot. She feels fear and hope at the same time, as if the sky were a promise built of lies. In the seat beside her, an older woman smiles. "First time traveling, right?" Maria nods. "Over there everything is different, but if you work hard, life treats you well." The woman's voice sounds confident, but the tired shimmer in her eyes says otherwise. They speak little, only what is necessary. At times silence wraps them in the same steady hum as the engine. Maria thinks that perhaps the future is exactly that, constant noise and distance. When the plane lands, the cold strikes her face. The airport is full of lights and signs she cannot read. A young woman waits for her, holding a sign with her name misspelled. She smiles, but her hurried tone disarms Maria. "Come on, work starts tomorrow." During the ride, Maria watches the city shining through the glass. Everything seems perfect. The cars, the spotless streets, the towers that touch the sky. Yet something in her chest tells her this place was never waiting for her. The neighborhood where they drop her off is far from the city center. Identical houses, soulless, white fences, precise gardens. The young woman guides her to a door and hands her a folded uniform. "You will wake up at 6, they eat breakfast at 7. Do not talk too much, do not use your phone during work, do not go out without permission. If you behave, they might help you with papers." Maria listens to every word with a mixture of gratitude and fear. She nods in silence. That night, in the small room that will be her new home, she sits on the bed and takes out a photo of her mother. She stares for a long time. "I will do well," she whispers. But when she looks at the uniform, something inside her shrinks. She sleeps little. In her dreams she hears her mother coughing and her father calling her name. The next morning, the smell of coffee and disinfectant fills the kitchen. The lady of the house studies her from head to toe. "You speak little English, right? Well, you will learn. Here everything is done the way I say." The tone is firm, almost kind, but leaves no doubt who commands. The man barely looks up from the newspaper. Two teenage children pass by without acknowledging her. Maria lowers her gaze, hurries to serve breakfast, spills a bit of juice, apologizes. No one answers. Through the day she cleans, irons, and cooks without rest. Every object has its place. Every mistake earns a cold glance. She quickly learns to move without sound, to exist only through her hands. When evening comes, her body aches. She sits by the laundry window and looks at the orange sky. For a moment she thinks she hears the birds from her neighborhood, but it is only the passing roar of another plane. That night, while folding sheets, she hears the couple arguing upstairs, words she cannot understand, yet anger sounds the same in every language. She wonders if they too live in a different kind of misery, disguised as comfort. On the third day, the lady leaves a long list and a clock on the table. "I pay by the hour, not by the day. Make it count." Maria nods, swallowing her pride. She remembers her mother waiting for money for medicine. During her short lunch break she eats alone, a piece of bread with reheated coffee. Through the window she watches the family smiling in the garden while she washes their dishes. The reflection in the glass shows her blurred as if her face is already starting to fade. That night, she writes a letter she will never send. "Mama, I am fine. I work a lot, but everything is going as I hoped." Her hand stops. The truth cannot fit on the page.
She tears the sheet and hides it in the drawer.
On the weekend, they let her ride along to church with the family. She does not go inside, only waits in the car. Through the window, she sees the lady kneel, and the man shake smiling hands. The light of the temple touches everyone except her. Then she understands. She is in a country where one can have everything except belonging. On the way back, the man politely asks if she can cook traditional dishes from her country. Maria smiles faintly. Yes, sir. He nods without looking at her. Maybe someday you can make something different for us. The words sound kind, but they draw a line. When her day is over, she climbs to her room. She takes off the uniform and looks in the mirror. The woman staring back does not look like the one who left days ago. In her eyes there is exhaustion. In her hands a faint tremor. She touches her neck, feels her heart racing. A mix of pride and sadness. I am here, she whispers, but she does not know if that means victory or defeat. She turns off the light. Outside, the wind hits the perfect windows of the neighborhood. Inside, the silence weighs more than sleep. Maria wraps her arms around herself and promises to endure, at least until she sends the first money home. She does not yet know that her destiny will begin to change when, a few days later, she hears the sound of a hammer and a man's voice softly humming in Spanish. The morning sun reflects off the polished walls of the mansion. Maria climbs the steps with her eyes lowered, holding a basket of freshly washed clothes. Every corner shines as if no one had ever lived there. The marble has no stains, the flowers no dry leaves. The paintings are perfectly aligned. Yet beneath that perfection, something breathes differently, as if the house itself were watching each of her steps. The lady of the house, Rebecca, always appears with flawless hair and a smile so precise it seems rehearsed. She speaks slowly, as though her words were commands disguised as courtesy. Maria, remember that the back door is for the staff. Do not forget that here everything has its order. Her tone is soft, but beneath it lies an invisible warning. Maria nods without lifting her gaze. She knows she must not look directly into her employer's eyes, for that gaze has the power to turn her into a shadow. The man of the house, Thomas, is different. He is rarely seen. He spends his days between phone calls and trips. Sometimes he crosses the hallway and offers a brief, polite smile that carries no weight. At the dining table, his voice is the only one that breaks the silence, and even so it seems no one listens. The house is filled with sounds that belong to no one. The clock, the wind against the windows, the vacuum cleaner roaring like a tamed beast. Maria learns the routine. She wakes before dawn, turns on the coffee maker, sweeps the patio, and polishes the floors. Every action must be exact, leaving no trace, no noise. Rebecca inspects every detail with cruel delicacy. The edge of the sheet, Maria, always folded outward, never inward. The small things make the difference. Maria smiles and nods, though inside she feels her entire life has been folded inward since the day she arrived. Sometimes, while cleaning the study, she discovers objects that unsettle her: framed photos of the couple smiling before a lake, golf trophies, diplomas, a collection of watches. Everything perfectly arranged, everything soulless. One day, while dusting a portrait, she notices a tiny crack in the glass. She stares at it for a long time, as if that crack were the only truthful thing in the room. At lunch, the children come down wearing headphones. They do not greet her. They eat quickly, stare at their phones, and vanish. Maria collects the plates in silence. Rebecca says thank you with a tight smile, the same one she uses when guests are present, and she wants her home to appear as the model of harmony. Maria understands that her purpose is not to serve, but to sustain the illusion of perfection everyone wants to believe in. The mistress never raises her voice, yet she knows how to wound. She corrects with polished sentences. Here, Maria, the uniform must always be ironed. Presentation speaks for who we are. Maria lowers her head. Yes, ma'am. And remember, no perfume. The scent must be neutral. Personal aromas can be unpleasant. A knot tightens in Maria's chest. To be neutral, not to smell, not to speak, not to exist beyond usefulness.
C.
In the afternoons when the house empties, Maria sits in the laundry room to take a breath. Through the window she sees the perfect garden, the symmetrical rose bushes, the neatly trimmed grass. Everything seems designed never to grow beyond its limits. She thinks of her mother's yard, of the wild flowers that grew wherever they wished. That was life. This instead is control disguised as beauty. One night, while cleaning the kitchen, she hears Rebecca's voice on the phone. She cannot catch the words, but the tone, irritation mixed with disdain, is enough. Then the clink of a glass on the table. Thomas appears at the door. Maria, do not worry. Sometimes things get out of place. She nods, unsure whether he means the marriage or the tablecloth. As the weeks pass, the work becomes automatic. Maria learns to anticipate her mistress's every gesture, when to offer coffee, when to disappear. She lives inside a careful silence. When something breaks, she fixes it without a word. When something hurts, she smiles. Rebecca watches her, pleased with her efficiency, never realizing that such obedience is born from fear. One afternoon, while cleaning the main room, an unexpected guest arrives, a friend of the lady, elegant and loud. Everything looks wonderful. Rebecca, this girl has made your house shine again. Then turning to Maria, she adds in a tone laced with condescension. It must be hard coming from so far away, dear. But at least you have a roof over your head, don't you? Maria smiles without answering. Rebecca laughs softly. Yes, she is very grateful. The phrase falls like an invisible chain. That night, Maria takes longer to fall asleep. In the dark, she recalls the echo of the word grateful and feels something inside her fracture a little more. She no longer knows whether her silence is obedience or survival. In the following days, the house seems to watch her more closely. Every security camera, every clock, every window follows her. She begins to imagine that if she drops a glass, the house will remember. She lives in a constant state of alert, as though her very existence depends on not making mistakes. One day, while cleaning the master bedroom, she finds an earring under the bed. It belongs to another woman. She keeps it to herself. Rebecca does not ask, but smiles more than usual at dinner. Thomas avoids her gaze. Maria understands then that the silence in that house not only hides others' secrets, it buries her own. Sometimes when the mistress leaves and the echo of her heels fades away, Maria allows herself a glimpse of humanity. She loosens her hair, walks barefoot, touches the piano in the living room, though she cannot play. The notes sound clumsy, yet alive. For a few seconds, the air belongs to her. But when she hears the engine of the car returning, she rushes to put on her apron and becomes invisible again. One rainy afternoon, the lady asks her to clean the garage. Maria obeys, and among boxes and tools, she finds a child's bicycle covered in dust. She touches it gently. The smell of rust reminds her of her childhood. A sharp ache rises inside her, mixed with tenderness. For the first time since she arrived, she cries, not for what she lost but for what she never had, a place where she could simply be herself. When she steps out of the garage, Rebecca waits with an umbrella. You are soaked, Maria. I do not want you getting sick. You would be of no use to me that way. The words sound kind but leave no doubt. Her health is not a concern, only a resource. Maria smiles with the mechanical gesture she has perfected. That night, as she closes the window, she looks toward the garden and sees a figure near the fence. A man with a toolbox fixing something in the dark. His silhouette stands against the dim porch light. He hums a song in Spanish. Maria watches, not understanding why her heart beats so hard. Without knowing it, the sound of that hammer will mark the beginning of another story within her own. The sound of the hammer blends with the scent of freshly cut wood. Maria hears it from the kitchen. Not understanding why that noise, so ordinary, feels different. There is something warm in the rhythm of the blows, something human. When she looks up, she sees him crouched down, focused on fixing a door that was always stuck. His strong arms move with precision, and there is a serenity on his face that contrasts with the stiffness of the house. Daniel lifts his eyes and catches her looking. He smiles with natural shyness. Good morning. She startles, not out of fear, but at the familiar sound of Spanish. She answers softly, good morning. In that brief exchange, the air changes. For a moment, the White House feels less hostile. In the days that follow, Daniel works in different rooms. He arrives early, carrying his toolbox over his shoulder, always greeting with the same calm. He does not talk much, yet his presence fills the space. Maria realizes that his voice resonates differently from everyone else's. He does not command, he does not demand, he simply exists. At midday, while she cleans the dining table, he passes by with a wooden plank in his arms. He leaves a cup of coffee on the counter. I made it strong like back home, he says with a faint smile. Maria hesitates for a second before accepting it. It has been months since anyone offered her something without wanting something in return. The first sip burns her lips and her soul. Thank you, she says. He nods and continues his work, but the glance he gives her before leaving stays with her, an invisible caress. That night, Maria cannot sleep. She replays the moment over and over, the smell of the coffee, the deep voice, the feeling that someone had seen her for the first time since she arrived. Not as a servant, not as a foreigner, as a woman. As weeks pass, their meetings repeat. Sometimes while he fixes a molding or adjusts a drawer, they exchange brief words.
How long have you been here?
She asks.
5 years.
Though I still feel new, he replies. And you? Maria smiles wistfully. 2 months, but sometimes it feels like a lifetime. With every conversation, they reveal more of themselves. Daniel tells her he left his country after losing his workshop in a fire, that he works without papers, afraid of being caught. Maria confesses she sends every dollar to her mother, that she barely eats, and that sometimes she feels like a ghost. You are not a ghost, he says softly. I swear when you speak, everything stops. She looks down, blushing. It has been so long since anyone told her something so simple and so true. One afternoon, while Rebecca is out shopping, Maria dares to offer him a glass of water. Daniel accepts, noticing the tremor in her hands. You do not have to be afraid, he says. It is not fear, she answers, though they both know she lies. If they see me talking to you, I will be fired. He nods. If they see me here after hours, I will be deported. The silence that follows is a shared confession. The desire between them grows, but not hurriedly. It builds through glances, through small gestures, through the way he removes his gloves or the way she adjusts a chair after he fixes it. Every accidental touch carries the weight of an untold story. One rainy afternoon, the power goes out. Maria goes down to the basement to find candles. She finds him there, checking an outlet. The dim light wraps around them. He raises the flashlight, and the light reflects in his eyes. Looks like the storm locked us in, he says. She smiles. At least we are inside. Daniel steps closer, handing her a lit candle. Their fingers touch. Time stops. Outside, thunder breaks the silence. But inside that house, the noise no longer exists, only heartbeats. Maria looks away, frightened by her own trembling. I should go back upstairs. Yes, he says, not moving. You should. But neither of them steps away. For the first time she feels the urge to stay. Fear and desire blur together. It is not wild passion, but restrained tenderness. The need to feel something real. When they finally part, the air smells like a promise. In the following days, they pretend normality. Yet every time they cross paths, there is a subtle tension, invisible to everyone except them. Rebecca notices the change. You seem to be working with more energy. Maria, she says one day. Anything I should know? Maria answers calmly. I only try to do my best. The lady smiles, but suspicion flickers in her eyes. Daniel begins working in the garage workshop. Maria finds excuses to go there, to drop off rags, to fetch cleaning products, to bring him a glass of water. He shows her a chair he is repairing. It was beautiful once, but it was broken. Sometimes broken things just need time and patient hands. Maria looks at him, knowing he is not only talking about furniture. One evening, as the sun sets, Daniel calls her. Come, I want to show you something. In the corner of the workshop sits a small wooden sculpture, a woman holding a flower. I saw you cleaning the garden that day. You inspired it. Maria is speechless. Why would you make something like that for me? Because you remind me that not everything is lost. She reaches out, touches the figure gently. It is beautiful. Daniel smiles. So are you. The phrase sounds simple, yet in that place where no one calls her by her name, it becomes an act of rebellion. That night, Maria climbs to her room, with her heart racing. She thinks of what she just heard, of what she feels, of the chasm between them. In the mirror, her eyes shine for the first time since she arrived. She lies down without taking off her uniform, afraid that when she wakes it will all be just a dream. Days grow different. He leaves her small hidden notes, a word scribbled in pencil on a scrap of paper, a dried flower, a short phrase in Spanish. She replies with gestures, a cup of coffee made in secret, an apple in his toolbox, a sigh as she passes. But the house does not forgive happiness. One day while she talks to him in the back garden, she hears the unmistakable sound of Rebecca's heels approaching. Daniel disappears behind the shed, and Maria pretends to water the plants. The mistress stops beside her. How strange, Maria. I could swear I heard voices. The wind, ma'am. Rebecca smiles, but her gaze is sharp. Be careful. In this house, the wind carries secrets. That night, Daniel writes on a scrap of paper. We protect ourselves, but we do not hide completely. Maria keeps the note beneath her pillow. She cannot help but think that perhaps love is exactly that, a way to tell fear it does not rule. Outside, the garden sleeps. Inside, the clock marks the hours with cruel precision. Maria hears the echo of the hammer in her mind, like a heart insisting on beating. She does not know yet, but every strike of that hammer is building more than furniture. It is carving the destiny they will share, with or without the world's permission. Summer advances, and the house breathes differently. The air feels heavier, the clocks tick slower, and silence has become an uneasy witness. Maria no longer works with the same mechanical obedience. Her movements remain precise. Yet there is something new in them, an inner stillness that makes her different.
Rebecca notices. She feels it every time Maria walks by.
A woman in love carries a light that no uniform can extinguish. One noon, while cleaning the tall windows of the living room, Maria sees her reflection and does not recognize herself. The tired face remains, but her eyes shine with something resembling hope. She wonders if love is a form of resistance or of madness. Daniel has been working at another house for several days, yet each of his messages, hidden within folded napkins or boxes of nails, keeps her alive. Rebecca, on the other hand, has become more watchful. She has begun to notice the brief absences, the distracted silences, the misplaced sighs. Her gaze is that of someone who senses a crack forming in the porcelain of her perfect world. One afternoon, while Maria hangs laundry in the garden, the mistress appears without warning. "Do not forget that we trust you here," she says softly, almost maternally. But trust is fragile. One lie can break it. Maria nods without looking at her, knowing that the warning is not born from domestic control but from fear, the fear of losing power. The nights grow longer. In her room, Maria imagines life beyond those walls. She closes her eyes and sees a small apartment, a table with 2 plates, the smell of warm bread, Daniel's laughter. Then she opens her eyes to reality. White curtains, a clock that never stops, the distant hum of traffic. Everything reminds her that she lives in a cage. One morning, Rebecca calls her into the office. On the desk lies a folder with papers, among them, a copy of her false identification. "Can you explain this?" the lady asks, her calm voice freezing the air. Maria feels the ground disappear beneath her feet. "I needed it to work," she whispers. "I know," says Rebecca, "but I need to know if there is anything else I should know. I do not want problems with immigration." The threat is hidden behind a smile. Maria swallows hard. "No, ma'am, nothing else." Rebecca studies her for a few seconds before sighing theatrically. "I hope that is true. This house is no place for secrets." That afternoon, when Daniel arrives to deliver a piece of furniture, he senses something different. Maria avoids his eyes. They are red from crying. "What happened?" he whispers. She knows. Maria answers, "Not everything, but enough." Daniel clenches his fists. "We have to go." She shakes her head. "I cannot. I have no money, no place to go, and if she reports me, my mother will lose what little I send her." He looks at her, desperate. "We can hide, work somewhere else. I know people who can help." "You do not understand," she interrupts. "This house is a prison, but it is also all I have." The silence that follows hurts more than any word. Outside, the wind moves through the branches, and for an instant the mansion seems to murmur its own sentence. No one leaves without paying the price. The following days are torment. Rebecca multiplies her demands, inspects every corner, searching for proof of betrayal. Maria obeys even as she crumbles inside. The love that once saved her from sadness now pushes her toward the edge. Daniel insists on seeing her. One night, he manages to slip in through the back door. She waits for him in the kitchen, her heart on fire. "You should not have come. I could not bear not seeing you. If someone sees us, it is over." "It already is," he replies. "If you stay here, you will lose yourself." Maria trembles.
He takes her hands, and for a few seconds, the fear disappears.
They kiss for the first time, not like lovers, but like 2 souls clinging to the only truth they have left, their humanity.
The kiss is brief, yet it ignites a flame that will not go out.
Suddenly, a noise in the hallway. Footsteps. Maria pulls away, startled. Daniel hides behind the pantry just as Rebecca enters. "What are you doing up so late?" she asks, her voice suspiciously calm. "Just cleaning, ma'am. At this hour, I could not sleep." The lady steps closer, so close Maria can smell her perfume. "How strange. I thought I heard a man's voice." Maria swallows. It must have been the television. Rebecca smiles. "Of course, the television." And she leaves, the door slightly open behind her. When the danger passes, Daniel steps out of hiding. "This cannot go on," he says. "They will destroy you." Maria looks at him, tears restrained. They already are. He holds her tight, as if he could crush the distance that condemns them. From that night on, everything changes. Rebecca stops pretending politeness. Her words grow sharper, her gestures colder. One evening while Maria serves dinner, the lady says in front of her husband, "One must be careful with people who get too comfortable. They forget their place." Thomas looks up uneasy, but says nothing. Maria feels her dignity bleeding slowly, drop by drop. In the garage, Daniel waits with the engine running. "Today is the day," he says. "We are leaving." Maria hesitates. "What if they catch us? Worse if you stay." She looks at him, fear and love entwined. "I cannot." He watches her in silence. Then they win. That night, Maria locks herself in her room. She thinks about freedom, about its cost, about the fear that chains her. She feels imprisoned by her own choices. From the window she sees the city lights so close, yet impossible. She thinks of Daniel driving toward nowhere, of her mother waiting for money that may never come, of Rebecca sleeping peacefully under the sheets of privilege. Dawn finds her awake. She rises, dresses in her uniform, walks downstairs. Everything is the same order, the same scent of cleanliness, the same voice calling from the dining room. But something inside her has shifted. The American dream has lost its shine. She now knows her life belongs to no one, though she still does not know how to reclaim it. In the garden, the wind blows fiercely, knocking over a flower pot. Maria bends to pick it up, and as she does, she discovers a small wooden figure hidden among the leaves, the woman Daniel carved for her. She holds it in her hands, and for the first time in weeks, she smiles. Not because she is safe, but because she remembers she can still feel. Behind her, through the window, Rebecca watches in silence. Dawn arrives with an unusual silence. Maria wakes before the alarm clock. Outside, the sky has a pale gray hue, as if it already knows what is about to happen. She walks to the kitchen and turns on the coffee maker. The smell of hot coffee reminds her of the days when she still dreamed. She prepares breakfast with her usual precision, but there is a faint tremor in her hands. Something in the air smells like an ending. Rebecca descends the stairs immaculate, wearing a light dress and holding the phone to her ear. Her voice is firm and composed as always. "Yes, officer, thank you for your help." She hangs up just as Maria places the plate on the table. "Good morning," says Maria, her voice barely audible. Rebecca does not answer. She simply looks at her with a cold stare that slices through the room. Thomas follows behind, his expression tense. "What is going on?" he asks. "Nothing serious," replies his wife. "Just a matter that needed to be settled." Maria does not understand, but the tone raises goosebumps on her skin. She tries to continue her routine, washing the dishes, cleaning the marble, trying not to think, but a noise at the entrance stops her, knocks at the door, hard, insistent. 3, then 3 more. Thomas stands. Rebecca does not move. "Open it." 2 men in uniform enter. Their jackets read Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Maria feels the air leave her lungs. One of them opens a folder. "We have a report. We are looking for an undocumented worker residing at this address." The words hang in the air like knives. Rebecca folds her arms. "Of course, officers. We will cooperate fully." Maria steps back. "There must be a mistake," she stammers. "I have only worked here for a short time." The men do not look at her like a person, but like a file. "Full name." One of them demands. She hesitates. Any answer could condemn her. The man repeats with impatience. "Your name." Maria takes a deep breath. "Maria del Carmen." At that moment, Daniel appears in the side doorway, drawn by the noise. "What is happening?" he asks. The officers turn toward him with suspicion. "And who are you?" Daniel freezes. Rebecca glances at him, a faint smile on her lips. "Another worker. I am not sure if he has papers either." The blow lands cleanly, deliberately. Maria stares at her in horror. "Ma'am, please, but Rebecca raises a hand. "Do not make me lie, Maria. Everything has a limit." One of the officers pulls out handcuffs. "You must come with us." Maria steps back. "I have harmed no one." "It does not matter, ma'am. You are not authorized to be here." Daniel steps forward. "Leave her. She did nothing wrong." "And you?" the other officer asks. "Do you have a work permit?" Daniel stays silent. In his eyes lives an ancient fear, one he knows too well. Thomas tries to intervene. "Officers, please, not here. We have children." But his voice sounds hollow, without strength. The tone of someone washing his hands without getting them dirty. Maria feels the cold metal close around her wrists. Everything happens so quickly she can barely breathe. The ground shifts beneath her feet. "Walk slowly," one of the men orders. Maria obeys. The couple's children watch from the stairs, confused, curious. "What is happening to the lady?" asks the younger one. Rebecca answers without flinching. "Just a legal matter, dear. Do not worry." Daniel tries to move closer, but the other officer stops him. "Do not interfere." He raises his hands, helpless. Maria looks at him one last time. In that look fits everything: love, guilt, farewell. "Do not say anything," she whispers. "Do not turn yourself in." He presses his lips together, torn between running or vanishing. They lead her into the garden. The sun burns, the air stings. Neighbors watch from their porches. Some murmur, others record with their phones. No one moves. The white immigration van waits at the curb, gleaming, indifferent. The door opens with a metallic sound that feels final. Inside, the air smells of plastic and disinfectant. Maria looks out the window and sees the house facade for the last time. So white, so spotless, so empty. She thinks of the years it will be cleaned by another woman, perhaps with the same wounded hands that now tremble. The American dream goes on, with other names, other shadows. At the station, the lights are harsh and cold. A woman hands her papers to sign. "Just routine," she says without looking up. Maria complies. Every word in English feels like a wall separating her from the world. They take her shoelaces, her bracelets, her dignity. In the cell, other women watch her silently. Some cry, others simply wait. No one asks. They already know there are no answers. A guard sets a cup of water on the table. Maria holds it with trembling hands. She remembers the first coffee Daniel gave her. The memory brings warmth for a moment, a small flame surviving in the cold. She closes her eyes and sees him standing there, hammer in hand, promising that everything would be all right. Outside, Daniel drives down the road. He does not know where to go. The image of Maria in handcuffs burns in his mind. He knows that if he surrenders, he will share her fate. If he runs, he will live with the guilt. He stops by a gas station and stares at the horizon. In the windshield, the reflection of dawn seems to mock him. He starts the engine, directionless. Meanwhile, at the house, Rebecca gives an interview to a local journalist. She speaks of her support for immigration laws and the importance of safety. Her tone is flawless, her face serene. The camera captures her best angle. Thomas nods, though his eyes avoid the lens. The public image remains intact, polished like the floors Maria once cleaned. In the cell, night falls without stars. Maria sits on the floor, her back against the wall. A woman beside her whispers a prayer in Spanish. Maria closes her eyes and joins in silence. She does not ask for freedom, but for courage. She knows her story will not be told by newspapers or defended by lawyers. But she also knows that somewhere out there, a man with hands marked by wood will remember her name. At dawn, an officer approaches. "You will be transferred to the detention center tomorrow." Maria nods. Her voice is gone, yet something inside her still refuses to die. Faith, perhaps, or the simple certainty of having loved in a place where no one dared. When the door closes, the metallic echo rings through the corridor. Maria rests her head against the wall and lets the tears fall, not from fear but for everything left behind, the dreams, the dignity, the love that still breathes. In her mind, the sound of the hammer returns, steady, persistent, like a heart still beating for her. Beyond the border of sleep, a lone figure walks under the rain, carrying a toolbox. He does not look back. With every step, the mud mixes with water, and the road becomes a promise without direction. The plane lands with a hard thud. Maria opens her eyes and sees the runway under a soft rain. She is back in the same country she once left, but she is no longer the same woman. Around her sit other deportees, all with empty eyes. No one speaks. The air inside the plane smells of sweat and resignation, but also of a strange peace, as if after so much fear, there was nothing left to fear at all. An officer hands her an envelope with her documents, and a small bag containing her belongings, a rosary, a wrinkled photo of her mother, and the wooden figure Daniel once carved for her. Maria holds it gently, as if it were a fragment of her soul. As she steps down the stairs, the warm air hits her face. She breathes deeply. The scent of wet earth, of corn, of home fills her lungs. Outside the airport, a nun offers food to those arriving. Maria accepts a plate of rice and beans and eats slowly. With the serenity of someone beginning again, she is no longer in a hurry. Around her confused young men, mothers holding sleeping children, silent men with bowed heads, all different, yet carrying the same story written in their eyes. She takes a bus toward her hometown. The landscape changes gradually. The bright billboards and highways fade into dirt roads and green mountains. Through the window she watches barefoot children playing in the rain and remembers her own childhood. A warm feeling passes through her. Poverty remains, but so does the beauty she had forgotten. When she reaches her neighborhood, her heart beats fast. The houses are small, the walls cracked, but every doorway breathes life. Her mother waits at the threshold, thinner, older, but with the same tender eyes. They embrace without words. There is no reproach, only silence filled with understanding. "You came back," her mother whispers. "Yes, Mama, but this time I come back whole." In the days that follow, Maria tends the garden, repairs the old house, and helps her neighbors. At first people watch her with curiosity, some with pity, others with respect. "That's the one who went to the United States," they murmur. Maria smiles. It no longer matters to her to be the subject of conversation. She knows that the gaze of others does not define her worth. Every afternoon, as the sun sinks behind the hills, she sits by the river with an old notebook. She writes letters she may never send. One of them, the longest, is for Daniel. "Dear Daniel, I don't know where you are, but I want to believe you're still building beautiful things. I'm here again, in the land where I was born. I brought nothing, yet I feel as though I have everything. For a long time I thought love was a promise to be fulfilled, but now I see it was a mirror. It showed me who I was before I forgot. Your silence doesn't hurt me. I understand it. Sometimes life separates us so we can learn to love ourselves without depending on another. I don't know if I'll ever see you again, but I know you exist in every good thing that happens to me. When the wind moves through the trees, I hear your voice. When the wood creaks beneath my hands, I remember your fingers, rough with dust and hope. I've decided not to hide anymore. I am neither shame nor mistake. I am a woman who fell and rose again, who crossed borders only to discover that freedom isn't in papers, but in the gaze of one who recognizes herself. Thank you for reminding me that I can still feel. Thank you for loving me without conditions. Wherever you are, may life hold you the way I couldn't. Maria." She folds the letter carefully and places it inside a glass jar. Then she buries it under the lemon tree in the yard, next to the wooden figure, not as a farewell, but as a root. She knows that things buried with love bloom in one form or another. Months pass. Maria begins working in a small local carpentry shop. She learns to use the tools she once saw in Daniel's hands. The owner, a kind old man, teaches her to sand wood, to read its grain, to listen to the sound of each cut. Maria discovers that every piece of furniture has its own breath. Every creation is a story. One morning, as she works on a table, the old man says, "You have the hands of an artisan. People with deep wounds tend to build things that last." Maria smiles. Maybe that's why I love wood so much. Even when it's cut, it keeps its essence. She begins selling small items, figures, stools, frames, crosses. The neighbors call her the woman from the workshop. Some pay with money, others with food. She accepts everything with gratitude. There is no longer sadness on her face, only calm. When someone asks her about her life in the United States, she answers serenely, "I lost many things there, but I found something more important, myself." One afternoon, while sweeping the floor of the shop, a truck stops outside. A foreign tourist steps out to buy a souvenir. He speaks in English. Maria answers naturally, without hesitation. For the first time, the language that was once a prison becomes a bridge. She sells him a wooden figure, a woman holding a flower. As the man drives away, she feels a cycle close. At dusk, she sits on the doorstep and looks at the sky. The stars are the same ones she saw through the window of the white mansion, but now they shine differently. They no longer remind her of what was lost, but of what endures. She touches her chest and feels the invisible outline of a hammer beating within, not the sound of work but of life insisting on continuing. Her mother comes out with a cup of tea.
What are you thinking about? She asks.
Maria smiles. "I think I finally understand what it means to have a better life." The mother nods, needing no words. Together they gaze at the horizon, where the river reflects the last light of day. Maria stands, walks into the workshop, and writes one final sentence on the wall. "Freedom begins where fear ends." Then she turns off the lamp and closes the door. Outside, the wind moves softly through the trees, carrying with it the echo of a story that, though marked by loss, ends in dignity. Thank you for accompanying this story. If it moved you, subscribe for more stories like this, and share in the comments what touched you most about Maria's journey. Your voice keeps the conversation alive.